is a Momentum Media production.
The top 100 agents are the best of the best, listing and selling more than any other agent in Australia. These are the practices, actions and beliefs of the most successful agents in Australian real estate. Raw, honest and completely uncut.
Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Secrets of the Top 100 Agents. Grace Ormsby here, still coming to you in a COVID safe way because we're all still in lockdown here in New South Wales, but it's such a shame because I've got Lisa Novak on the line, and Lisa, it would have been so great if we could have actually caught up in person today.
It really would have. I agree. I think we're all counting down the days, right?
Yeah, that Freedom Day in October can't come quick enough. Lisa, I'd like to formally welcome you to the show. You're the General Manager and in sales at Novak Properties in DY. So just around the corner, really, but a beautiful part of the world. How is it going at the moment?
It's God's country, that's for sure. I mean, if there's a place you want to be locked down in, Grace, it's going to be here on the Northern Beaches. We are spoilt for choice with beaches. So it's been all right. You know, it's been fine.
And you guys also had, you know, the issues at the beginning of the year too. It's not your first lockdown in 2021.
That's for sure. No, it's not. Yeah, over that Christmas, New Year period. So that was a little tough for people. Obviously, they couldn't get together with family and friends. But look, you know, I think that's the nature of how we live these days, isn't it?
Definitely. So what has this year been like for you? Because really, based on your numbers, based on the fact that you made the REB Top 50 Women in Real Estate for 2021, it's been a pretty good 12 to 18 months. Is that fair to say?
It has. Look, it's been busy. The market has certainly been bustling, that's for sure. But, you know, I put the hard yards in as well. So I work really long hours. I'm not going to lie. There hasn't been much of a work-life balance going on. Not that there's anywhere to travel to or have any time out. But, you know, I've certainly been putting in the hard yards the last few years.
How do you sustain that kind of, you know, work ethic then? Because it would be a tough slog to just keep on doing that. You said that, you know, traveling isn't actually really a possibility at the moment, which I think everyone is kind of feeling that as well.
Yeah.
But what sustains you with all that?
So, look, I've got what I call my not negotiables. You know, I think when someone works the amount of hours that many of us work in real estate, you're going to burn out. So, you know, for me, I've got some not negotiables in place. So Tuesdays, I try and leave a bit earlier so I can have dinner with the family. The same on Fridays. I try and have a work from home day on a Friday. And then Sunday, we have a family day. So they're my not negotiables. It doesn't matter what's going on. Nothing will interfere with that. And I think that's really important. You know, it's just diarised. But I think it's very important to do that so that you don't burn out.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the working from home. Has that come in because of COVID, or was it something that you were doing before then?
It was something that I did after about a year in real estate because I was working ridiculously long hours and realised that it just wasn't sustainable. So I just tried to work out, how do I get this balance? Not that, you know, I don't really have much of a work-life balance. It certainly swings more towards work, but yeah, it's something I put into place about a year into sales.
And you haven't really been working as a sales agent for all that long. So talk us through actually taking that plunge into that because, you know, it's a big step.
It's a really big step. So we've had our agency Novak Properties for about 20 years now. My husband, Mark, and myself started it when we were just young in our youth. And I was really working in the background of the agency for about 17 years and raising children at the same time. And I was working more in a part-time capacity, then moved into a general manager role. But sales was really where I wanted to be. It's something I'd wanted to do my whole life, and then got to the ripe old age of 46 and thought it's now or never, and plunged headfirst into sales about 3.5 years ago.
Good on you. Not many people would, you know, get to that point and go, actually, I'm going to do this because I've actually wanted to do it for so long.
Yeah.
Was it a hard decision to make? Like, it's a bit of a weird one in that you were already in the business anyway. So it just would have meant a bigger workload, essentially.
Yeah. So it wasn't a hard decision to make because it's something I'd actually wanted to do my whole life. It's just the business needed me in other areas. And so did my kids. You know, my children needed me while they were still little. But one thing I didn't realize when I had jumped into sales was exactly how much work it was going to be. But I've got 17 years of real estate, you know, experience. This is going to be a walk in the park. I got a bit of a rude shock. I didn't realize exactly how much hard work it was going to be.
But you've succeeded. Are you where you thought you would be within, you know, the 3.5 years since you did start? What were your expectations?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm a hard taskmaster on myself in particular. So I was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. In terms of, you know, my expectations and have I exceeded them? Yes, I have. Not for a moment did I think that I would be, you know, on an REB top 50 in women list within that 3-year period. The top 50 women in real estate list in just 3 years of working in sales. Because if you read down that list, Grace, most of those women, with all absolute respect, have been doing this craft for over 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, so that was a high benchmark. And in addition to that, this year I was speaking on the ARIC stage, which is an absolute honour in our industry. And to be asked to do that after only being in sales for 3 years was, you know, I mean, I was blown away.
And it's absolutely no secret from my perspective anyway that people talk just how you actually just have to spend time in the industry to be able to achieve some of the sums that some of Australia's top real estate agents are achieving. How did you fast track it so much? Because especially over the past 3 years, let me walk through it. We've had a federal election, we've had bushfires, we've had floods, we've had a global pandemic. It hasn't exactly, it can't have been a walk in the park.
No, but I'll tell you one thing. There was a lot that I saw in the background. You know, before I launched headfirst into sales, there was a lot that I saw and I just wondered why many things were done the way they were in the industry. Marketing was one thing. You know, I was like, I don't get it. Like there's social media right there at our disposal. And 3.5 years ago, it was very underutilized in the industry. So I decided I was just going to build up those channels and get the right sorts of followers on there in the hope that maybe I could just do things a little bit differently and be able to offer the industry, you know, buyers, sellers, a different way of doing real estate. And also I found there was a lot of lag time. You know, someone would make an inquiry on realestate.com and agents would get back to you on a Tuesday, you know, when they made an inquiry on a Saturday. And so I just made a pact to myself that I would get back to people as instantly as I could, just that convenience factor as well. Look, that was a couple of things. There's many other factors, but in a nutshell.
I want to pick up on that point in a second, but we'll take a quick break. We'll be back soon with more from Lisa Novak. Welcome back to this episode of Secrets of the Top 100 Agents, where I'm joined by Lisa Novak up in DY. Lisa, before the break, you were talking all about how you've only actually been in the industry for 3 years working as a sales agent, but you'd obviously spent a long time in the industry before that, almost like a fly on the wall, I would say, you know, picking out the things that you want to be putting into your own practice, looking at the things that you really don't think are working, or that's a really great starting point to be coming from. Can you talk us through a little bit more about how everything got off the ground and what you were really focused on when you did, you know, make the jump to sales?
Yeah, so look, for me, social media was a big thing. It's probably what I'm most known for now in our industry, is listing and selling property off my social media. It's not all I do, but again, there was a lot that I identified, Grace, from the outside looking in, and that was that social media was extremely underutilised going back 3.5 years when I first started in sales. And so I decided I was just going to try and really build up a following there of buyers on my social media and be able to offer vendors some sort of a $0 marketing strategy. Because besides the real estate portals, which do a phenomenal job, realestate.com.au and domain, there wasn't really any other alternative out there. So I just decided that I was going to do some raw, authentic videos, nothing flash, just using my iPhone. And I was going to launch them out to my social media and then give buyers the opportunity to be able to see and buy property first.
So what platforms did you start on?
So I put my very first property on Facebook, and it was actually more out of necessity. I had a lovely vendor, and unfortunately he was terminally ill, and he didn't have any money for marketing, and he wouldn't accept any either. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to try and do a little raw, authentic video, put it on Facebook. And long story short, I sold the property for a phenomenal price within 24 hours for the vendor.
Which would have been, well, it was unheard of. Even now, it's not really, the bread and butter of selling property, is it?
Yeah, no, that's right. So, I thought maybe that was just a little bit of beginner's luck. So what I did, because I was a new agent in the industry, was I decided I was just going to go through our website and take some of the old listings that had been sitting there where vendors didn't really want to go onto the portals. They were known as off-market. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to grab those and I'm going to go and do some of these raw videos and put them onto my Facebook and see what happens. And ended up selling all of them for a phenomenal price in a record time frame. And I think it was at that moment, Grace, that I realised that I was really onto something. There was something there that the buyers wanted and didn't have, and the same for the vendors.
So what was the kind of reach that you were getting at the beginning when you were putting these videos out? Because obviously everything was finding buyers, but what kind of reach did you need to get for that to be the case?
So not a lot. And I didn't even know about looking at insights and all that sort of stuff back then, right? 3.5 years ago, I honestly had no idea what I was even doing. But what I had ascertained was that I didn't have that many followers. And I think people tend to get caught up with how many followers have you got? And I need 10,000 surely to make this work. And again, I realized quite early on that you actually don't need lots and lots of followers. You just need a few hundred of the right types of followers. And, in addition to that, when you actually give people the content that they want, so you serve up properties that aren't yet on the market or on the portals to buyers, they will follow you. So, and it made me realize that, as I said, very quickly, I started to realize that, and then attracted a substantial amount of followers as a result of that.
It's a great way to qualify buyers without really putting too much effort into it, isn't it?
Look, it really is. And it's also a great way if you need to. So if I now I call it my plan A, which is my social media selling, my $0 marketing strategy. And then I've got my plan B, which is paid marketing and getting my vendors onto the portals if we don't get that rock star price with the plan A. But it's important as agents as well that we are really listening to what it is that our clients want. So I've got a lovely client that I'm selling for at the moment. She's an older lady and she said, Lisa, I don't want to go onto realestate.com and domain, and I don't want to do an auction.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect strategy for her. We didn't really have much to offer before. We had database, but the reality is that does run out quite quickly, and then we didn't really have another option.
It sounds like a great thing to be able to offer them, and especially if it is that plan A. So is that the default kind of thing now that you go, okay, well, we'll do this first. We'll test the waters, see what happens, and then go from there?
Spot on. So now I know, because I've done so many of my, what I call my pre-market sales. I now know that after about a week, it kind of loses its luster. Mm-hmm. And then if we don't have that, knock your socks off price, we just simply take vendor paid money and go out to the real estate portals. But the great thing is we get the intel. So, I've heard what those buyers have said pre-market. And, I might be saying to a vendor, look, you guide, my estimation on selling prices between 3 to 3.3 million. But my pre-market buyers come through and they may tell me something different. So in the event that we, may need to launch out to market, to the real estate portals, we know exactly where we're throwing the dart.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they also give you feedback that you don't really want all the time, some of those buyers. Yeah. What does that look like sometimes?
Well, all that we don't see. So I've got that situation at the moment, beautiful property. And there were certain things that I just simply didn't realise were going to be such a sticking point with buyers. But you hear enough of it in your pre-market phase and realise, okay, that's one of the obstacles we're going to have to address should we launch the property out to market. Fortunately, I've got a good, strong offer on that property and it hasn't yet gone out to the real estate portals.
That would also be a great selling point, I'm thinking, for potential vendors down the track. You know, if they're coming to you and saying, we want this much for a property, you can go, actually, I've got the comments and I've got the people saying no, like that won't do.
Definitely.
Does that happen? Do you use it down the track?
Absolutely. And so, you know, there's nothing worse than going to market too high and, you know, potentially burning a campaign or burning some great buyers. And it's really critical. And I'm always very transparent with my communication with my vendors that the information that we receive pre-market is fantastic. It's the backstage information, and it's really important that we take that on board should we need to launch to those real estate portals.
Absolutely. So, Lisa, on that note, how often do you actually go from plan A to plan B?
Good question.
Do you have that?
Yes, I do. So about 70% of my stock sells in my plan A. So about 30% of them launch to the portals. And Grace, there's a variety of reasons why I launch to the portals. If we don't get a phenomenal offer, well, that's simply what we do. If I feel that there's more money out there for my vendor, then we'd be crazy to not take a few $1,000s and go to the portals and get them an extra 50 or 100,000. So, you know, the campaign needs to be very fluid. Every vendor is different. Every property is different. Every campaign is different.
But it all comes back to that flexibility, doesn't it? And being able to offer options to people depending on what they actually want.
Correct. And again, that was one of the things I identified, you know, sitting on the back seat of real estate. I was like, I feel like there's not that many strategies here for vendors. I feel like it's a one size fits all for the majority of the industry. That was one of the things I had identified 3.5 years ago.
And it's going to be tough for people who actually just don't have the money to spend on marketing because let's be real, especially in a market, I'm assuming like the Northern Beaches, you know, there's a lot of prestige. There are a lot of beautiful properties that take a lot of money to, you know, to photograph in the right way and do videos for. And that would be the expectation.
Definitely. Look, often when vendors opt for my $0 marketing strategy, it's rarely about the marketing money that they need to spend.
Okay.
It's rarely about that. It's more that they're just simply not ready yet to launch to market. So if we look at the market the way it is now, it's a roaring market. So I've got vendors calling me all the time saying, Lisa, do you think I can get 3 million for my property? I don't want to go to market because I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the campaign, a potential campaign. But I'm really keen to understand if I'm just crazy or if I really could get that money.
Yeah.
Perfect strategy. Perfect strategy. $0 marketing. Let's go to database. Let's go out to social media. Let's ask the judges, the buyers. Let's hear what they have to say. So it's a wonderful way to dip your toes in and test the market.
A great point made there, Lisa. And is it just still Facebook? Have you evolved that $0 marketing strategy since you began?
Yeah, absolutely. And learnt a lot along the way. So Facebook, so I've got 2 profiles on Facebook, Lisa Novak and Lisa Novak Properties, Instagram and LinkedIn as well. And I tried TikTok, much to my children's horror. Didn't go so well. It's not my tribe, you know, it's not my tribe.
So are you still just doing those authentic videos? Like talk us through putting a video together. Is it all videos? Are there some photos? Are there word posts? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's actually evolved quite a lot. The raw video has not changed, and I don't know that I'll be changing that anytime too soon. People actually really respect the authenticity and they're happy to see the property in its raw form, as long as they get to see it first, right? So our industry is great at doing what I call the Hollywood style production video, which is wonderful. But I think we have to ask the question, is that more about the agent or is it more about the property?
Yeah.
And they work really well on the portals. But if you think about how we view social media, a lot of it is just raw content.
And so are you walking through with a camera? Is it selfie mode?
This thing here,
Just like that?
Just the iPhone, that's all you need. And the reason I started using my iPhone was I'm actually hopeless with technology. So I just thought, iPhone, they're great, fabulous cameras. It's with me all the time. I'll never forget it. And, it really does the trick. I've learned a lot along the way as to how to film. Lighting is important. Sound is important, but again, I've taught myself how to hold the phone while I'm filming. Sometimes I'll pop some AirPods in, which double up as a great microphone.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll pop a little Rode mic on.
Okay. And so then you just walk through, or do you stand out the front? What are some of the strategies that you see as being the best to make that raw footage? Because I'm just imagining Blair Witch Project, and I know I've seen your stuff, so I know that that's not what it's like. But if I turned around and tried to do that, that's what it would look like, and it wouldn't work.
So it's a couple of things, and it depends on the property. It depends where the property's located. Sometimes I'll just do a little teaser. So I've just had a beautiful property right down on the beachfront in DY. And, I was just giving a little teaser, a little sneak peek. This is your view. Here's your backyard, guys. Stay tuned. This one's coming any moment now. And then maybe later on that day, I'll roll out a video, a quick little walkthrough. Not showing them too much because you want them engaging with you. So don't give it all away. And generally people have got a short attention span as well. So quick little video. Don't state the obvious. So it won't be like, and here's the living room and here's the kitchen. They can see all that. Point out the things that they can't see.
That's good to note, Lisa. We're going to go to a break now, but because we've been talking about social media, I feel like we need to give a plug both to Novak Properties, but also to REB. Make sure you're following everything on our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our Instagram. We're not going to have any Blair Witch Project videos going up anytime soon, but there's some pretty good content on there as well as this podcast. So go check it out. We'll be back in a second.
Are you looking for a flexible and rewarding career? Have you considered expanding into mortgage broking? The free-to-attend New Broker Academy will set you up with the right tools, tactics and knowledge to put you on the best path to expand out to new clients, increase your revenue stream and ultimately capitalise on the current boom within the mortgage market. This 2-day virtual conference is jam-packed with engaging sessions from specialist speakers to fast-track you and your new brokerage to success. Learn why expanding into mortgage broking will be the best decision you've ever made. Visit newbroker.com.au for more information or to register your free spot to attend.
Welcome back to this episode of Secrets of the Top 100 Agents. We're joined by Lisa Novak of Novak Properties. Lisa, we've talked all about how it's been such a great intro into the life of a sales agent for you. You really, from my perspective, it couldn't have had a better start in the industry, and you're killing it. You're doing such a good job. So
thank you.
Kudos to you and congratulations for
everything
Grace. Actually achieved. Looking at the market right now, and social media, obviously all of that would have changed so much, even in the 3 years that you've been in the industry. What have been the biggest changes from your perspective? And what do you think we're going to be expecting next? Like what do agents need to prepare for?
Really good questions. So let's just rewind 3.5 years. I did my first Facebook video, and right after I did it and felt silly, and right after I did it, I got a call from a real estate agent, and I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this. Maybe she's got a buyer for me. And that real estate agent had called me to tell me that I was humiliating myself.
No.
A true story, and that it's not the way we real estate. She said, look, you should, you probably don't know this because you're new into sales, but, I'd delete that because it's embarrassing. Like, we don't real estate this way. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think I've just made a fool of myself. But the reality was I had sold that property the very next day for a record price for my vendor. And it really made me reconsider. And I thought to myself, this is not about me. It's not about the agent. This is about the consumer and what their needs are. And I had more than fulfilled that for my vendor. But 3.5 years ago, this was barbaric almost, to be putting these raw videos onto Facebook and attempting to sell a property, I think there was a lot of the industry that thought it was quite ridiculous. Then we fast forward 3.5 years and I'm standing on the ARIC stage in May of this year and I'm telling 3,000 plus agents about the journey and the successes for the vendors and for the buyers. And things are very different. The industry all of a sudden is listening, right? And they're learning and they're wanting to know more and they're lapping it up.
How much do you think that had to do with COVID-19?
A little bit. I do believe a little bit, but, and look, in saying that, I mean, let's have a look at social media and raw video content. It's kind of all we were left with at many stages during a lockdown. So for the agents that weren't jumping on that bandwagon years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, you'd really be clutching at straws now. Because it would be difficult. It's not too late, but it might be difficult for you to now try and jump onto that bandwagon.
Absolutely. And I feel like, starting when you did, there weren't many people doing it. You would have had that a little bit more of a gentle learning process and a learning curve, I guess, when you're doing it. And we talk about transparency and just authentic and being able to make mistakes, which, yes, is still fine to do, but you made those mistakes a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be repeating them now.
Yeah, I did. And look, I'll be honest, 3.5 years ago, it was tricky to push through the noise, right? I was new in sales. I was the new girl on the block in real estate sales. And here I was doing things really differently. So, I had to block out the noise and I truly believed in, this as another way, not the only way, but another way that could help buyers and sellers.
So what is that like now? We've talked about it being, 70% of your properties are selling Plan A, $0 marketing strategy. Where to next? Where do you go once you're already achieving that kind of achieving those kind of figures?
Yeah. So now it's a matter of trying to really work out great systems around it, because there's only one of me, and so however many hours in the day, 24 hours in the day, but there's a lot that needs to be done. So I spend about 3 to 5 hours a day on my social media. So, recording content, getting the content up to the social media channels and responding to inquiries. And I do all of that myself. Plus, I've got to list and sell in addition to that. So it's a lot of work. And it's a matter of really just working out better processes around it so that I can 2x that.
And that is a fair portion of time. So is it something that has been rolled out more widely in Novak properties? Is it kind of standard now for everyone to be doing that? Or
Absolutely.
Is it still your baby?
No, it really is. And look, you've got certain agents that have got their own choice of weapon, right? Some agents are phenomenal at prospecting on the phone. Some agents love a door knock. Some of our agents don't do social media. It's not what they feel comfortable doing. But we certainly do lots and lots of it here at Novak. We pretty much give an employment agreement and go, there you go, there's a camera. Say hi.
Yeah. You got to get used to being on camera.
You do, yeah.
But it clearly works, and it's a great business strategy where if people aren't doing it now, then they are behind, aren't they?
They may very well get left behind, yes. And I think, and look, I really had a good think about why a lot of people don't do the raw, authentic video. It's confrontational. It really is. It's confrontational. And most people are worried about what other people are going to think, right? Most agents would have just given up on it after that phone call that I got 3.5 years ago from the agent who said, you're making a fool of yourself. But as I said, it was about just once removing myself and saying, it's not about me. It's about my clients and their needs. Such
a good perspective to have, especially in this day and age where we're talking so much about how important those client relationships actually are. We're past all the the stage of glitz and glamour agents and that being a selling tool. Really, we're looking more at the importance of those relationships. So what's next for you as an agent, Lisa? What are you hoping to achieve over the next 12 months or so?
Yeah. So a few things. I mean, I've obviously come a really, really long way, and I'm extremely grateful for that and proud. I'd love to just 2x what I'm doing. Um, I have just made it to number one in terms of sales on the Northern Beaches out of 580 odd agents. So that was a bucket list that I thought, in the next couple of years, I'd love to achieve that, and I've achieved it. Moving forward, I'd love to get on the REB top 20.
It's
Aiming for
doable,
that.
isn't it?
I'm aiming for that. Look, just more of the same. I think it's a matter of, realizing you don't want to own the world, you just want to live in it. And just on a personal side note, I think just working out how to have a slightly better balance.
Yeah.
I think that's really important as well. COVID has certainly taught us all that, that's for sure.
And I do want to flag something you brought up before we actually started recording, which is just how much more stress has been on agents as a result of COVID. And in Sydney, you're only able to do inspections with one person at a time. That must be taking up so much more time than it would have previously.
It is. The logistics of orchestrating those inspections when you've got a number of listings can be tricky. The good thing is that buyers are generally working from home. So where we used to say, can you come on Wednesday at 10? And they'd say, no, I'm in the office. Now everyone can. So, they're a little bit more flexible as well. But we've worked out a really good strategy so that we're able to manage it the best way that we can.
It will be interesting, won't it? Because as I also said off air, you won't know yourself when you go back to being able to schedule in appointment times, but a lot of other people will maintain that same flexibility too. So you will still be able to access those people in the middle of the day when you might not have been able to previously.
Absolutely. And look, that's the thing, Grace, if you want to be a real standout agent, you do have to be doing the extra 1%. You've got to be doing it, so there's no point we're not concierges. We don't just turn up on a Wednesday and a Saturday to open homes and open doors and people come in. You've got to really be servicing people and really looking after them. And, as an agent, I was doing that right from day one. I was saying, oh, Grace, you can't make it on Wednesday to the open home. When works for you? And I would show property from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're servicing people. Convenience is a huge factor to success, particularly in real estate. And it's something that I feel, my opinion, was lacking in the industry for some time, just that convenience factor. Because if we look at the way we order food these days, you jump onto Deliveroo and we don't go, oh, I feel like Chinese. We go, what can be here in 10 minutes? And the same with an Uber. We used to sit and wait for a cab for 40 minutes. That was normal. And now we get frustrated if we wait for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Real estate's the same. People want that convenience. They want to hear from an agent straight away. They want their inquiry responded to straight away. And that's really important. And if you can just do that, I've got no doubt you'll be a phenomenal agent.
And I can see exactly why that strategy is paying off online too. And just for people being able to access, behind the scenes videos of you showing properties that aren't even on market yet, but they can do it from the comfort of their own home.
Well, see, perfection is slow. So if we think about how we bring a property to market, typical in the industry, we get the photographer in. Photographer's there for an hour, take some beautiful photos. They come back within 24 to 48 hours. All right. Floor plan lady, drone shots, all that sort of stuff. The video guy comes and does the video and edits it. Now there's a lot of downtime there, as opposed to I've got the contract and the agreement. That gets me out to the world immediately. No downtime, straight away. It's out there. Everyone saw it before it even hit any portal.
This is all incredible information to be hearing right before Sydney and New South Wales comes out of lockdown. Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. I think there's so many takeaways that people can be getting out of this episode, and should be, going off, getting their phone, seeing what they can do with that. Trial and error, go for it. But
100%.
Again, thank you so much. Best of luck with everything in the future. I can't wait to chat with you when you break that top 20 agents, because I know it's within you and it shouldn't be too far around the corner.
Thank you, Grace. Thanks for having me.
If you like this episode, please like or review us on whatever platform you're using to listen in. And if you have any questions for anyone here at REB, reach out at editor@realestatebusiness.com.au. As I said before, stay up to date with us on our social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our Instagram. That's all we have time for today. Until next time, stay safe and well. Bye-bye.